Yes, so my keynote for the next 10 minutes, it's on corporate climate protection. It's about the why and the how. Unfortunately, I'm not with you, and I'm a bit jealous after seeing this intro video, but I do it remotely here from cloudy Zurich. So my name is Kai Landwehr. I'm, as you have heard, the head of marketing at myclimate Foundation. myclimate Foundation is Swiss-based, founded 20 years ago by students from the Swiss Technical University. And currently we have worldwide more than 140 employees, and we had a total annual revenue in the last year of 45 million Swiss francs. We are based in Zurich, but we have international branches, for instance, in Austria and Germany. And what we do is we partner with private individuals as well as with companies of each industry and of each sizes, and we try to promote climate protection. We do everything we can to avoid CO2 emissions together with our partners, to reduce effectively greenhouse gas and CO2 emissions, and last but not least, we were one of the forerunners of voluntary carbon offsetting. So, what do we talk about? We talk about climate change. I don't want to elaborate on this too long or too much, but just some brief figures. So climate change is caused by greenhouse gas emissions. And these greenhouse gas emissions, we emit more, or we have emitted more than we should over the course of the last 150 years due to the industrialization, since we have started to burn coal, fossil energies, coal, oil, and gas. And this has massive consequences for nature, but maybe more importantly for all the people around. And the consequences of climate change and global warming, they look like this. Or they look like that. So, unfortunately, maybe my screen doesn't share any longer. So, yeah. These pictures, unfortunately, they look familiar to us right now. So we see the consequences, the first consequences, the real consequences of climate change. We could see it right now, even here in Middle or Southeastern Europe. So to summarize this, climate change is there, climate change is real, and unfortunately it's caused by us, by human activities. And its effects we are experiencing right now, and I've underlined this, so we must act, we must fight, we must curb climate change. So this could be a why. Why should you, as a corporate guy or girl, why should you engage in climate protection? But there are some more whys. There are drivers for corporate climate protections. So first of all, the first driver, it's pretty obvious. It is the right and the necessary thing to do. If you look at the global emissions scenario right here, with our current policies, we might end up with a global warming of 2.7 degrees. 2.7 degrees global warming, make the analogy to your own body, a body temperature rise of 2.7 degrees. That might become lethal for you. And it's very, very uncomfortable situation. And even with a more optimistic scenario, so with all the pledges, all the targets entirely executed, we will still face a temperature rise of more than 2 degrees. Just to remember, the goal is 1.5 degrees global warming. So we need to speed up, and therefore we need all the action we could get also from the corporate landscape. So the first driver, global emission scenario, it's the right thing to do. But there are more drivers. There are drivers coming from the political landscape. It started there, 2015, with the Paris Agreement. An international binding agreement of more than 119 member states with a clear aim, with a clear target to cut the global warming by 1.5 degrees. And that means to decarbonize our society and our economies. So, and this one is trickling down. So you have heard about the European Union's Green Deal. And this Green Deal incorporates a couple of very powerful tools. So the UE taxonomy, the product environmental footprint, the corporate sustainable reporting directive, and some more tools. And these tools will affect, as of 2023, as of 2024, all the companies maybe not the smallest ones, but most of the companies doing business within the European Union. These regulations will force you to engage in climate protection. This is a very strong driver. You can trickle it down further. You can trickle it down to regions, to states, and to cities. There are many cities internationally. I don't know the situation in Split, but there are many cities who have set up their own climate protection goals. And if you want to do business within these cities, if you want to offer your services or your products, you need to have a proof on your climate engagement. You need to have at least a corporate carbon footprint, but more importantly, you need to show that you, with your business, will be part of the solution and no longer part of the problem. So very strong drivers from the political landscape, but there are more drivers from the societal landscapes. The young people, or the maybe not so young people, your customers and your employees, your current employees or your future employees. The people outside, the public, is demanding corporate climate protection. The people are aware and they will ask you. They will raise questions and you better are prepared to answer these questions. And last but not least, there's one more very important driver, and these are the financial markets and private equity. Because these people working there, these people that could help you to scale up your business, these people have one big fear, and that's the fear of stranded assets. So I don't want to read this citation, but you can see clearly here, these people will check your business if you are still engaged in fossil energy, if you are still part of the problem. And if they think you are, it will be pretty tough to get investments from this time. So you have very strong drivers. So you have many whys to engage in corporate climate protection. And now I will briefly talk about the how to engage in corporate climate protection. And the good thing is you can do this all along your value chain. So I can show it on this picture here. So corporate climate protection, it all starts. Maybe it needs to switch. I can see it. So corporate climate protection will, anytime it will start with measurement. You cannot manage what you haven't measured before. So first of all, you will need to have a clear picture on your corporate carbon footprint and maybe also on your product carbon footprint. And with this information, you can start. And this, I hope you can see my next slide then. So with this information, you can start to work on the reduction of your CO2 emissions. And there are many areas to do this. You can work together with your employees, with the top management as well. I just will stop, maybe wait for the slide on the screen. So I will continue with my presentation because I don't want to cause the first really big delay. Here we are. Very good. So as I've mentioned, everything starts with the measurement. You can see in the gray area here, and then you come to the concrete measures. And this is the blue area here. So yeah, you can work with the people within your company, with the young guns as well as with the top management, make them climate ambassadors. You can really look after your processes and your supply chain and how you can improve there. You can also team up with other companies within your industry and set up really strong and compelling climate action over a total industry. Very successful thing to do. So you have many things you can do within your value chain. You can also go after your value chain to the green area and engage in voluntary carbon offsetting, for instance, or in the yellow area. And you can also apply for organizations or initiatives like the Science-Based Target initiatives. And then you will finish your circle and you will do all these things again and continuously improve in corporate climate protection. So there are many things you can do. You don't have to do everything, but you really have to start if you haven't done it until now. So one last word, one last thought I want to leave with you there. let's consider greenhouse gas emissions as a waste problem. And we have experienced waste problems in the past, and for most of the countries, we have solved these waste problems, like the wastewater problem or the problem with household garbage, with physical waste. How could we solve this? Because we have implemented the polluters pay principle. We made the polluters pay. We made the wastewater polluters pay. We made the household garbage polluters pay. So, and with this money raised, we could solve the problem. We could solve this technically, but we could also solve it by changing the attitude of the people. And last but not least, we could work and establish very successful industries, waste management industries, for instance. But we don't do it now with greenhouse gas emissions. But hey, let's implement the polluters pay principle here. Let's put a price on carbon and use this money to avoid CO2 emissions whenever possible, to reduce existing CO2 footprints as much as possible. And last but not least, take on responsibility for the unavoidable emissions and offset them. So support projects all over the world which effectively reduce or save CO2 emissions or capture CO2 back from the atmosphere. And this is exactly what the Green Future Conference does. So the Green Future Conference did a measurement. So they set up event carbon footprint. They have many, many measures in place to reduce the existing carbon footprint. So you will see it maybe with the food and the beverage, but also with the mobility arrangements. But they took on responsibility for the existing CO2 footprint. They offset it by supporting international carbon offset projects. And so the Green Future Conference 2022 in Split is a climate neutral event. Thank you so much for these engagements. And thank you in the audience for your attentions. I really hope you will enjoy the conference. I'm a bit jealous as mentioned. And I would like to ask you, hey, let's keep in touch on corporate climate protection and all the climate protection measures. Thank you so much.